So further, the petitioner in this case argues that it should be allowed to exercise its right of eminent domain under its franchise, or its right as a builder in good faith. In claiming so, petitioner avers that when it installed the cables and lines underground, it was acting in good faith, believing that the land was underneath the public sidewalk. Moreover, transferring the cables and lines would cost millions of pesos and inconvenience for its subscribers. On the other hand, respondent contends that these arguments were raised only on appeal. The records show that these arguments were already raised by the petitioner in its answer and position paper, and were even addressed in the municipal trial court in city's decision. Thus, this court may proceed to resolve the substantive issues. On asserting its right as a builder in good faith, petitioner cited Article 448 of the Civil Code, which provides that the owner of the land on which anything has been built, sown, or planted in good faith shall have the right to appropriate as his own the works, sowing or planting, after payment of the indemnity provided for in Articles 546 and 548, or to oblige the one who built or planted to pay the price of the land, and the one who sowed the proper rent. However, the builder or planter cannot be obliged to buy the land if its value is considerably more than that of the building or trees. In such case, he shall pay reasonable rent. If the owner of the land does not choose to appropriate the building or trees after proper indemnity, the parties shall agree upon the terms of the lease, and in case of disagreement, the court shall fix the terms thereof. This provision refers to a land owned by two or more parties, one of whom has built some works, sown, or planted something. Under Article 526 of the Civil Code, the rule on good faith is used in determining whether a builder, sower, or planter acted in good faith. In the case of Mercado versus Court of Appeals, this court ruled that a person claiming to be a builder in good faith must be a possessor in the concept of an owner. Thus, to be deemed a builder in good faith, it is essential that the person assert title to the land on which he builds, that he be a possessor in the concept of an owner, and that he be unaware that there exists in his title or mode of acquisition any flaw which invalidates it. It is such a builder in good faith who is given the right to retain the thing, even as against the real owner, until he has been reimbursed in full, not only for the necessary expenses, but also for useful expenses. On the other hand, unlike the builder in good faith, a lessee who makes in good faith useful improvements which are suitable to the use for which the lease is intended, without altering the form or substance of the property leased, can only claim payment of 1/2 of the value of the improvements, or should the lessor refuse to reimburse the said amount, remove the improvements, even though the principal thing may suffer damage thereby. In this case, petitioner's assertion of right over the property is not in the concept of an owner. In contrast, petitioner claims that the property is owned either by the government or a certain Teofilo Pilapil when it installed the lines and cables. Thus, petitioner's argument that it should be allowed to exercise its right under Article 448 is untenable. Moreover, squarely raised in this case is whether the subterranean portion of a titled property is included in the rights of the surface owner. Rights over lands are indivisible. This is the rule. It is well settled that the owner of a parcel of land has rights not only to the land's surface, but also to everything underneath and the airspace above it, up to a reasonable height. Article 437 of the Civil Code states, the owner of a parcel of land is the owner of its surface and of everything under it, and he can construct thereon any works or make any plantations and excavations which he may deem proper, without detriment to servitudes and subject to special laws and ordinances. He cannot complain of the reasonable requirements of aerial navigation. The principle is embodied in several rules pertaining to land rights. For instance, Article 438 of the Civil Code determines that hidden treasure underground belongs to the owner of the land, building, or property. Moreover, mining rights may be given to a mining applicant despite the surface being titled to another by government, subject only to compensation. In the case of National Power Corporation versus Ibrahim, registered landowners may even be ousted of possession and ownership of their properties in the event the latter are reclassified as mineral lands because real properties are characteristically indivisible. For the loss sustained by such owner, they are entitled to just compensation under the mining laws or in appropriate expropriation proceedings. In this case, the existence of petitioner's cables affected the right of the surface owner to make use of its right to possess. This can be considered a burden which may be removed by forcible entry or unlawful detainer actions. As to petitioner's assertion of its right of eminent domain, this court finds that this claim cannot be properly resolved in a complaint for forcible entry or unlawful detainer. Eminent domain or expropriation is the inherent right of the state to condemn private property to public use upon payment of just compensation. The power is exercised by the legislature and may be delegated to local governments, other public entities, and public utilities. In exercising the power of eminent domain, expropriation ba, the following requirements must concur. The expropriator must enter a private property. The entrance into private property must be for more than a momentary period. The entry into the property should be under warrant or color of legal authority. The property must be devoted to a public purpose or otherwise informally, appropriately, or injuriously affected. And the utilization of the property for public use must be in such a way as to oust the owner and deprive him of all beneficial enjoyment of the property. Expropriation may be judicially claimed only by filing a complaint for expropriation. Inverse expropriation is a claim for compensation by the deprived landowner as a complaint or as a counterclaim. It seeks to recover the value of property taken, even though there is no formal exercise of the power of eminent domain. Normally, it is the expropriator, the state, that files the complaint. Expropriation is a special civil action with a special bifurcated trial. In National Power Corporation versus Hoxton, the first is concerned with the determination of the authority of the plaintiff to exercise the power of eminent domain and the propriety of its exercise in the context of the facts involved in the suit. It ends with an order, if not of dismissal of the action, of condemnation, declaring that the plaintiff has a lawful right to take the property sought to be condemned for the public use or purpose described in the complaint, upon payment of just compensation to be determined as of the date of the filing of the complaint. An order of dismissal, if this be ordained, would be a final one, of course, since it finally disposes of the action and leaves nothing more to be done by the court on the merits. So too would be an order of condemnation be a final one, for thereafter, as the rules expressly state, in the proceedings before the trial court, no objection to the exercise of the right of condemnation or the propriety thereof shall be filed or heard. The second phase of the eminent domain action is concerned with the determination by the court of the just compensation for the property sought to be taken. This is done by the court with the assistance of not more than 3 commissioners. The order fixing the just compensation on the basis of the evidence before and findings of the commissioners would be final. It would finally dispose of the second stage of the suit. So this is the second stage of the suit, the commissioners. And it will leave nothing more to be done by the court regarding the issue. An expropriation suit falls under the jurisdiction of the regional trial court because it is a case incapable of pecuniary estimation. It deals with the government's exercise of its authority and the right to take the property for public use. The right of an expropriator to file a complaint for expropriation is not allowed in an action such as a forcible entry or unlawful detainer suit. These actions are summary in nature. Therefore, in this case, the court cannot award expropriation. Nevertheless, the resolution of this case is without prejudice to the filing of a separate case for expropriation. So, ending na. The petition is granted and the resolution of the Court of Appeals are set aside. So, taob jud. So, this is the importance of reading the whole case, no? It is very helpful in educating us because even if you have read other cases, each case has its own unique story. So every case you will really have, it is almost impossible not to learn from every case that you will read. So that is why I focus on these cases as the Supreme Court, Honorable Supreme Court, explains it to us with using concrete examples, whether a certain rule or law or action is applicable or not, whether the interpretation of a certain rule or law is proper or not, using concrete examples by the cases filed before it. The Honorable Supreme Court, as it resolves the issues, teaches us, no, in its decisions. So it is for us to read and learn from these decisions. This decision is very lengthy, but it's full of substance. I'm sleepy. It's late evening, but it's a very fulfilling read. I might try to read this one more time tomorrow to absorb it further. But I think you can adjust the pace of the audio file so that we can together understand further the case by listening over it, listening over and over again the audio file where we read this case and discussed it. So again, for those new listeners, viewers, please contribute 2025 updates, links from gov.ph websites, but only related to these topics: real estate laws, land disputes, estate inheritance, partition, agrarian reform, no, mga CARP, CLOA, those types of topics. Darab cases, kaya mga sa dar nga kaso. So this is our co-learning channel. As you help me, you are also helping me to help anyone listening to our channel to learn how to avoid land disputes and how to choose peaceful means, peaceful ways, and peaceful endings. If any one of us will be part of land dispute. So, yeah, I guess this is good night. It's 10 p.m. in my watch. I'm sure you noticed I'm already a little bit sleepy. I will have a good night's rest and have a great day, everyone.